Hey guys, Miss Ethereal here, going into our topic today, which is the question, are you and your partner faking intimacy? So there is an article from Psychology Today, can't speak today, that says, are you and your partner faking intimacy? They say there are 3 core elements of closeness, and having 2 out of 3 is not enough. So the 3 elements that they claim in the article are, let's see, they say, yes, communication, commitment, and closeness. So communication, commitment, and closeness. And those that are high in the communication dimension, you can talk openly and honestly with a partner. Those that are high in commitment means they've made a long-term decision to stay with a partner. High closeness means involving your feelings more and feeling more comfortable with that person than anyone else. So a couple will fall somewhere along the continuum in any one of those 3 areas. Another aspect of this article is about 2 concepts, meaning either being scared of losing yourself, which is your own identity, or being scared of losing the relationship. Oftentimes, partners will get together with people who either have the same fear, so someone who's very scared of losing their self, their own identity, might pair with somebody who is also scared of losing their own identity and their self. And those people will probably be highly independent. Now, if somebody is super scared of losing somebody, then they're going to have the opposite fear. They're going to want more closeness, and they might even overcompensate because they're afraid of losing that person. They might have deactivation strategies. Now, deactivation strategies are these self-sabotaging behaviors that kind of break down intimacy and push somebody away in attempts to meet your own needs. And this can be very harmful, and especially if you're not communicating it and someone's not secure, there may be no way to really work it out to some degree, and people might just leave and not really realize why you push them away, but they just don't feel good around you. And so this is tricky. So I thought that article is really interesting. So also in the article that I thought was really interesting was there was a quiz. Now, I don't know if it's in the same article or if it's another one. I'm gonna have to check. I'll put the link below. But essentially, I took a quiz. It was about a 6-question quiz on what your intimacy style is. Are you one of 3? So these are the 3 types that have to do with this intimacy. So the 3 types, this is not having to do with the commitment, closeness, or what was the other one? Communication. Nothing to have to do with that. This is actually relationship style. So the 3 relationship styles are pseudo-intimate, intimate, and what was the other one? Sorry. Somewhere in here. Oh, here it is. So you're either a pseudo-intimate, merger, or intimate. So pseudo-intimate partners are going to be trying to connect with others, but because of their own fears, they might be clinging to superficial topics as a way to connect. They might be doing some deactivation strategies, like walking away when they're upset. Instead of saying, I'm really upset, I need to work this out, but I don't really know how to communicate that, would be a lot clearer than if they just walk away and just leave the partner hanging and they don't know where they stand, and it's very ambiguous. So that could be a deactivation strategy. Or maybe the person gets upset and just says, I don't want to be their friend anymore, forget. That sort of thing. So those could be some things. Then there's the merger. The merger usually has a high fear of losing the other person's, so they're going to be trying to merge with the other person's identity. So they might even overstep their own needs in that attempt. So just say you really value closeness and maybe you're anxious, you might really want to be close to that person, so you're going to try to connect with them, but that person's not meeting your needs. Instead of you expressing that you really want or need something from them, instead you are assuming that they can't meet that need, and you might even adopt what they want, which might go against your needs, which can be very debilitating. It can rob your identity, and you might even become codependent with that sort of behavior. And then there's intimate. So intimate is the ideal. I would say intimate is, I think no matter how unhealthy you are, everyone's going to have some intimate behaviors at times, but you're going to be one of three primarily. So our ideal is intimate, which is what a secure person would do, is they would connect with the heart and with pragmatic things. So things that are practical and day-to-day, but they'll also talk about things from the heart, things that are important in terms of values and things that make you feel emotionally close to somebody, especially if you're trying to bond with them. The article is very interesting in that it goes into the importance of having a strong identity. When you have a strong identity, you know who you are, and for the most part, you know what you want and what you need. You aren't as threatened by closeness. You're able to bring a little bit of yourself to the relationship, and the other person can, without it taking away your identity. That you're still individuals at the end of the day, but you're still being allowed to be influenced. You're letting that person have an influence. Can't speak today. You're letting that person have an influence on you to some degree, and in that you're having that intimacy, that closeness. You're seeing things from their point of view. You're trying to understand, and maybe you're not necessarily compromising, but collaborating on a shared vision, a shared relationship connection where you both share that together. And I think somebody who has a weaker identity might struggle either merging their needs completely with the other person or avoiding getting close because they're afraid of losing that identity, because they know that they're vulnerable to that. So it could be one of those two extremes. So now the most interesting thing of the whole thing, which I thought was interesting because there's actual research and a study done, and you can read it in the article, so I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but the conclusion was that people who had a high fear of losing themselves tend to really pair well maritally wise when they get married with other people who are also scared of losing themselves. And so those highly independent, autonomous individuals pair well in a marriage because they both have similar fears, and because that they understand each other. The problem with that, though, is when two people are pretty distant in intimacy and they kind of avoid being intimate and pseudo-intimate, they can go for years in a relationship, status quo, brushing things under the rug, not realizing there's some issues that they're not connecting on. But because they both have similar fears, they may not notice it as quickly. In fact, they might even go a decade, who knows, probably not even dealing with those issues until, eventually they're going to have to deal with it. but for some reason, they just get on better because they aren't bothered by that. They don't seek that closeness. Here's where the issue comes. If a person that's scared of losing their identity is paired with somebody who is scared of losing the other person, then we have a really challenging situation. Not impossible, but challenging, because those couples, when they, in the study, they were saying that those couples tended to have less satisfaction because that person who's seeking more closeness because they're scared of losing the other person, they will be disappointed because every single time they seek more intimacy and closeness, the other person is scared of losing their identity. The only solution, I would say outside the study, just from my own perspective, is that if the other person was willing to work on it, then yeah, there's some hope there. But at least statistically wise, it seemed like that had less, when I was looking at the statistical significance, that particular thing didn't fare well for couples when there was different fears that juxtaposed each other's needs. Then there's the last one, which is somebody who is not scared of losing themselves, or they're not scared of losing the other person. Same thing with the other person. And when those people are paired together, which are usually more secure people who have neither fear of either, that also fares well. So that there's some hope there. So either you both fear it and you have that in common, and then there's either you both don't fear it, and then that fares well for marriage. Another part of the study that they also said was that there wasn't necessarily significance in marital satisfaction if the couples had different or opposing relationship needs if they were willing to work on it. So that was a contingency. There were some outliers and those sort of things. So I will post the article below. You could take a look at it. It's also possible I misunderstood the article, but I did my best to understand it. I studied psychology in school, and it's been a while, but I still find it interesting. And then, let's see, conclusions from everything I've discovered. Well, having taken the quiz, I took a 6-question quiz about what my style was. And it revealed that I was primarily pursuing pseudo-intimate connection. So why is that, I wondered. So I was kind of oscillating between either pseudo-intimate or merger. And I did have one that was intimate. So I feel like I'm on the right path to seeking intimacy because it is something that I really much desire. However, because of my fears sometimes of losing another person or even losing my identity, I can oscillate back and forth depending on where I'm at in my life. Sometimes it could be tricky to stick to intimacy when my tendency is to seek pseudo-intimacy, which is kind of brushing things under the rug and pretending like everything's okay, when perhaps it's not really meeting my deeper needs. So I think that's something that would be really helpful for anybody that wants to know why they're having some issues connecting with others. Maybe you're wondering why your relationships don't last. Maybe you're wondering why your friendships don't last, or maybe why you're butting heads with your family. You can then understand why other people might have different needs than you. And it's not necessarily that it can't be worked out, but the more differing your fears are, the harder time you're going to have, because you're going to really struggle with trying to bridge the gap. Like, the more you try to connect with somebody that doesn't want connection, the more you're going to be disappointed. But if that person recognizes that they're having an issue, maybe you brought it to their attention, you said, hey, I'm noticing this behavior. They have an opportunity to step up, and you can let them do that. And if they're able to do that, then you can work on it together. And maybe there's something about the way you're approaching intimacy that might be triggering to them, and you're working with them and where they're at. And as you both do that, then you're able to be on the same page, which is ideal. So yeah, that was my biggest takeaway from the article. I wanted to plan it, but I don't know. This is more freeform. But eventually I do hope to make it more formal and that sort of thing. But anyway, in the meantime, enjoy, check out the article, and subscribe.